Welcome to the Honest Business Podcast, the Honest CEO's guest series special edition. In this series, we are going to be talking to some incredible female founders about their journey, what really goes on behind the scenes, how much balance they have, what makes their business joyful, and ultimately what keeps them going. So feel free to tune in and we will see you each week. Welcome back to the Honest Business Podcast in our guest CEO series. Today I'm joined by the absolutely wonderful Victoria Jackson, who is here to talk all things business, manifestation, and building an amazing life that she has built over the past decade. Victoria Jackson is one of the UK's leading manifestation and mindset coaches, an EFT practitioner, a chart-topping podcast host, and the founder of The Collective, a digital resort where members arrive as they are and check out as their future selves. She is the best-selling author of How to Manifest Anything and Manifesting for Beginners, and her third book, Reset, shares how she stripped back every area of her life, from business and wealth to health and beyond, and built it brick by brick back together. Through her work, Victoria helps community move from dreamers to doers, and her mission is to guide people to help become their vision board selves now by releasing limiting beliefs and taking aligned action and shifting their self-concept. Her work has been featured across numerous publications, from the Sunday Times to The Guardian to BBC Radio. She is here to share all today, and I cannot wait to hear more from her. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
I always think when people read my bios, I think, why is that me? Is that really me? All of those things.
You. It sure is you. Here we go. So, kicking off. First question, What do you wish all business owners knew?
Okay, I have got two answers for this. Can I give two? Is that
Sure.
okay? Okay.
Let's go.
The first one would be, I wish more business owners knew it was okay to fail. And when I say fail, I'm doing bunny ears for people that are listening and not seeing us. But I think the internet has made it feel like everything is a raging success. As soon as people launch, everything is a sellout. And that simply is not the case with the majority of businesses. So I want more people to know that it's okay to have something that might not work straight away, and you go back to the drawing board and you pivot and you make changes, because everything is data. I don't believe in the concept of failure. Everything is data that you can take away. You can look at what might have worked, what might not have worked, and then you can start again and keep going. And I think the only time that I would say something is a failure as such is if you stopped and just stopped doing something because it didn't work straight away. Actually, there's so much power in just to keep going. And I think so much power. That's what I've learned over the years. And I think if the second thing I was going to say would be that our thoughts really do, obviously I'm a manifestation coach, but our thoughts really do reflect our reality. And if you are a business owner that is continually saying to yourself, look, I catch up on stories, I'm rubbish on stories, no one's going to buy from me, your reality will reflect just that, because you are going to subconsciously act in the way that you're going to self-sabotage. You're not going to show up online. You're not going to sell in a way that attracts people, because your thoughts are quite literally creating your reality around you.
We've hit it off. First question.
The end.
Here we go. Feel like we're there. We're in there. Let's go back then to the first point, because it was absolute corker. So talking about failing, can we go almost like a few steps back in terms of the emotional, we'll just go for it, seeing as we're here already, the emotional turmoil that kicks off in people, entrepreneurs, let's just say, when something fails? Because you've just nailed a fantastic point around, okay, they put loads of time in, they launch something, there's all excitement, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe something kind of works, maybe it doesn't, maybe it completely flops.
Yeah.
All of that's valid, all of it's great. Can you actually break down for people why they need to keep going? Because I think what happens is some people then just lose 6 months or 3 months because they've ended up in a slump and they're so burnt out or scared, or it just really puts them in a negative spiral. So can you speak to that in terms of how people can stop getting so emotionally sort of invested to the point where they then feel like they've just lost periods of time in their business? Because this is one of the key things for people trying to scale or grow. This is what they've got to get their heads around, right? That failure is going to happen and that's okay.
Absolutely. I think that the key is to look at it as, I'm not going to do this for the end result. I'm not going to do this to have it be a massive success. Amazing if it will be. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach this in a case of, I'm seeking out data. All this is a project for me to seek out data, to see how my customers buy, to see what their pattern is, to see what marketing works. Everything is an experiment. And I really want people to lean into this curiosity and not feel like they have to be perfect. And I think when it comes to mindset as well, I think a lot of the time it activates a rejection wound because people feel like, oh no, someone's going to see me from school, or my mum's going to see me, or my dad's going to see me, etc. And it might not have worked online, and then I'm going to feel like I'm rejected. I'm going to feel like I'm going to have to explain myself. And there are so many different layers to it that I don't want to invalidate anybody's feelings by saying that they might have, felt like they failed and they don't get up again and try again, because that feeling of, the rejection wound or whatever that limiting belief might be, is strong. But what I would also say, what is stronger is when you get back up and you try again, you are quite literally building self-trust within you're building self-trust within yourself to say, actually, I'm still safe. Everything around me is still safe. And I feel safe in this moment, and I'm going to try again. And I'm going to learn from this. And every time that you get back up and dust yourself off, like Aaliyah says that, as you dust yourself off again, you will build that pathway in your mind that says, actually, it's not so bad if things don't work out the right way, because, the first time, because actually I get to go back and I'll try again and I'll try something else. But I've got the self-trust that I'm not going to let myself down, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Massively.
Yeah.
So how does that then link to your leadership?
So I think for me, do you mean in terms of my business?
Yeah, I think people will be interested to hear, okay, we're all saying that everybody fails at stuff. We fail, both of us fail.
Yeah.
We all do stuff, and sometimes it's just is a fail, and that's okay.
Yeah.
How has that then impacted you in your business and the way you lead things?
I think one of my core values in business has always been transparency, and I will often share. I have a podcast and I'll share the highs and the lows, and everybody knows that they're going to get the truth from me, and sometimes I probably overshare, but I think that's that is one of the values that I will let people know. And I think an example of that was I was hosting 2 retreats in, I think it was 2022, I'd put on 2023, I can't remember now. But anyway, I wasn't happy with the location, and time had passed, and, payment plans were coming in, and I sat there from March until May, and something in my gut, my intuition was saying, something's going to happen with this location. It's not going to, we're going to turn up and, it's not going to be right. And I'm going to feel like people have been let down. So I cancelled it, and I refunded £19,000 that day. And I sat there and I thought, I'm going to have to tell people, what happened. So I recorded a podcast, and the amount of people that messaged me to say, oh my God, nobody speaks about this. Nobody speaks about those decisions that they might not look good on social media. It could have people thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to book something with her. What if it, gets to 2 months before and she's cancels it? But because I'm so transparent with everything, I then went on the hunt for new locations. I took people with me, on terms of in stories on Instagram. And I really was super open about what the level of quality that I desired for these women who wanted to come and work with me. And I think it made people trust me even more because I was so open, and I feel like that strengthened my leadership within the business. So yeah, and then we ended up finding an amazing location. And always trust your instincts, trust your intuition, because it happened for a reason.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that example, because I think it's really nice for people to hear tangible, not failures, but roadblocks and hurdles. Because I think often in my work, I come across those all the time. Sometimes people are making really hard decisions, as you're saying, is it refund and is it this, is it that? But it can become quite paralyzing for people when they feel like they're on their own, but actually everybody's got a story. Everyone's got numerous stories of things that they could share. When you think about being a CEO, you've obviously built an incredible business. The business is constantly growing. It's gone through a massive growth phase, for the last few years. And obviously there's loads of plans in the future. What does being a CEO mean to you?
I feel like I've created a business that is very, I would say, intuition-led. And, obviously when we started working together, I was very much, I was about the vibes. And you were like, okay, we love the vibes, but how about we look at the strategy as well, and let's look at the data. And it's been a real mix for me, blend of everything for me. And I think now I'm at a stage where the impact that I'm making is on a much bigger level than I used to, which is amazing for me. But what it also allows me to do is create a life for me that feels amazing. Like I am going to be working 3 weeks out of the month, and then I'm going to take a week off. And I've built that into now my new membership. And it just means like it's these little things where I don't set an alarm. I wake up, I go to Pilates through the day, and this energy of CEO energy you don't have to constantly be hustling, because actually your business gets to be designed around the life that you want to live, not what you think you should be doing from what everybody else is showing you on social media.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like, has that evolved and changed? Like when you first started your business, did you think that definition of CEO was for you, or like has it been a journey for you?
I used to call myself a soulful CEO. Like that's what I used to say, and that was because the word CEO to me felt like a masculine energy, and I was like, I don't know if I resonate with it. And I was like, I like the element of this soulful CEO where we lean on our intuition more, and we follow like nudges that we might get from the universe or whatever. If you don't believe in the universe, it could be like just subconscious nudges that come forward. And it really has allowed me to, I think, lean into and create my own definition of success, because that's what it is. We look online and we see other people's success and we think, am I supposed to have that many followers on Instagram to be successful? And again, I'm using bunny ears, but actually, no. You get to create a business that feels good to you. If you don't want to do something, and your passion, for example, is in using your voice, but you don't want to show up on camera, then for you, recording a podcast might be a really good way of reaching a new audience. Or if you're a really good writer, but again, you don't want to be sitting creating graphics for Instagram, then do you grow your audience and showcase your talents on Substack? There are lots of different ways now, which I love, where you can really lean into your own skills and talent without having to do something that you feel really and you just don't want to do. I think there's always a way around it.
That's really powerful, that whole idea of choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people are quite, it can become almost like a vacuum, can't it, where you think this is the only way to get to X, Y, and Z point, when actually, as you have got so many examples of, like, you can now do it in 10 million different ways, depending on what's right for you.
I think what a big thing for me used to be that I used to force myself to work Monday to Friday, and actually I personally get a lot of work done on Sundays because the emails are quiet. I'm not in the membership helping people, and I love to just sit and write. I'll write my emails, I'll write podcast scripts, and it's very like I romanticize that. Like I'll light a candle or I'll go work in a coffee shop. So I take Fridays off. So Friday and Saturdays is my weekend. And, I get that my life is very different because I'm child free. I'm, don't have a partner. So in this season of life, that's what works for me. But then again, if I wanted to then work Monday to Friday again, it's so fluid. Like we get the choice to create a business in our own definition, in our own terms. So I think it's just remembering that.
For sure, definitely. How do you stay in your own lane? Because I think people might look at what you've built and think, oh my goodness, like that is the most incredible thing, which it is. Let's just put a full stop on that. Like it is. But I imagine like in every industry, because people are going to be watching, listening from all sorts of different industries, everybody thinks that they're an anomaly, but they're not really. Like everyone's got competitors, everyone's got different kind of paths they could go down. How do you personally stay in your own lane and avoid the kind of comparison trap?
It's funny. I believe that we all have our own magic, right? Everything, we have little nuances that make us magnetic. So for me, I believe that it's my energy in person and live, and like it's my energy when I'm on the podcast and when I'm talking on camera to on Instagram, etc. And there's something magnetic about when I teach as well, about the energy that I can create with people. So rather than me thinking, oh my God, am I comparing myself to X person, my competitors, I will genuinely look at them. And I believe that there is an abundance of everything. So there is, by me being in this industry and somebody else doing exactly what I do, that's not going to mean any less for me. Like, I just believe that there is an abundance of opportunities, there's an abundance of money available. And if I'm going to be honest as well, what I often do is look at what my competitors are probably doing the worst. Am I going to say that? Yeah, I am. And I will make sure that I'm doing the best that I possibly can. Like if you know me, I think aesthetics is a huge thing for me. Like things have to look beautiful, and this is the reason why I've just relaunched my entire membership portal because I wasn't happy with. I was happy, but I felt like everything needed to be elevated this year. And obviously we started to work together at the start of this year, and I knew that everything that I was creating had to be leveled up. And I didn't want to, I hate the feeling of staying stagnant. I believe in consistency, and I believe in obviously settling your energy and being in a chapter in a season of life. But then I'm ready to move now. I'm ready to up level. I'm ready to step into a new level of life. And that's what I've done over the last, 9 months of us working together. But yeah.
Sorry,
go on. I always have gone on a tangent, but you have to rein me in.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, though, about talking about this idea of constantly going for more. Not in a, as you said, like, not that a can't sit still way, or not a way that is negative, but I do think there is a real, when people look at business owners that they admire, I think people don't put enough emphasis on the amount of dedication and attention that is given to people. Like typically they are constantly looking at what's next, how do we improve? Like you are someone who constantly wants, what does the next touch point look like for someone? How does the customer just feel 5% more kind of seen, or 1% more? Like that stuff really adds up. And I think that's important for anyone listening. If you are on a journey of like wanting to grow and develop, it doesn't have to be these massive changes. We're talking about like tiny little things that actually give you a competitive edge in your whole industry, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about just allowing yourself the space to think, like you say, like small little changes and taking on feedback. So for me, I have a membership where I have access to feedback, data and customer, desires and wants. And then it's up to me to say, okay, I can see a few people needing this right now. I have to create that experience for them because I am the one that's creating the space, that's facilitating this space for them. And it could be the smallest thing where I added a button, and this is a really tiny thing, but it's just elevated the experience more for the customer, where they log on to the membership and they see the schedule, and all it is a button that they press and it puts the dates into their iCalendar, into their Google Calendar. Now, I didn't have that before, but these tiny little shifts that I've done with this new membership really elevate it to make the experience, and this is the most important thing, the experience for the paying client to be as, for me, I want it to feel like elevated. I want it to feel easeful. I want it for them to, my whole concept is that you step into your future self, and I want people to log onto my website and to feel the energy of, okay, I feel like this is where my future self would spend time, and this is how I want to feel.
Oh, that's good. We like that. Can we switch now and talk about manifestation in business?
Yeah.
Because people listening are going to be intrigued. Like, there's going to be people who are fully in it. There might be people who are like, I'm not sure. Give us some more info.
Yeah.
I just want to preference this by saying, me and Vic are a really great, chalk and cheese in the sense of we love strategy, we love data, we love manifestation. And that, what you mentioned before about this collective combining, it's almost like in a pot, isn't it? And it's a KitchenAid, maybe. In a KitchenAid, mixing all together, and you get something really beautiful out of that. Can you maybe talk to people about what does manifesting look like day to day in people's businesses? Like, what can it look like for people to do the practice of manifestation, if that is a correct way of terming it, and how can that look and show up for them?
I think, so first of all, the concept of manifestation is using your thoughts to create your reality. So whether you believe spiritually that you are being guided by the universe, or whether you look at it in a more neuroscience way, that when you focus on something, your subconscious will then show you more things. It'll filter through the reticular activating system and show you the things that you are able to, opportunities that you might have missed, conversations that you might have missed. And so when it comes to the concept of using it in business, I think it's getting clear on what you actually desire. The amount of, people that I speak to that say, well, I want to manifest more money into my business. And I say, right, okay, so what number do you want? And they're like, oh, I've not thought about it. And I'm like, you have to get clear, regardless of whether you believe that the universe is guiding you there or anything, that you have to get clear on the amount that you desire each month, because when you set targets, you are absolutely more likely to hit them than if you're not going to set targets. So it really is this clarity that you need of how you want your business, not just to look, but how do you want your business to make you feel on a daily basis. That's the most important thing for me. And I think it's creating a vision for yourself. And as a business owner, how I use manifestation is I make decisions as my future self. So when I say my future self, it is the version of me that is on my vision board. It's the version of Vicky who has this wildly successful business that, that I've got in my head, etc. And I will often get emails inviting me to things, to speak on stage. And the old me used to automatically reply and say, no, thank you. I'm busy on that day. And I wasn't. I would just lie and say, I'm busy on that day. It's not something I can do. And then I started to make choices and decisions as future me, from the version of Vicky who has the things that I desire. And I would say yes and then think about it afterwards. So I would make the agreement and then think, right, okay, the next step is what I'm going to do is I'm going to really prep so I feel super, super confident. So I don't need to think about being on stage right now. I just need to think about what future Vicky would do to feel confident. She would prep, she would listen to subliminals about confidence on stage, etc. And when I started to do that, my entire business shifted, because I was then growing a business and I was showing up as this future version of Vicky that then became so second nature that I now agree to speak on stage, in front of the most I've spoken to about in front of so far is 500 people on a stage. And oh my God, the 2020 version of Vicky would not have even got on Zoom because I did not want to show up for myself. And I think it really is about, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent there, but it really is about taking small steps to become the version of you that you know that you can be without expecting an overnight change.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an overnight change. For me, it was a compound effect of small shifts, and they resulted in me being the business owner now that I couldn't have ever dreamt of being in 2020, for example.
I love this, because this conversation is hopefully really helping people see how tangible it is.
100%.
And that's something I really admire about you. But when you teach, it's it's so tangible, it's so real. Like that whole debate, as people can make their own decisions on universe, religion, whatever it means for them. But there's a whole neuroscience piece where there's no real debate about, is it real? Is it going to work? Is it not? It's factual. And I think that's what we love, because I'm just I'm so just in it. I'm 1000%. And when we look at founders, CEO, leaders, whatever you want to call them, who can do this big growth jump or these big kind of, I don't want to say overhauls, but real progress in their business versus stagnation, which we're not saying there's anything wrong with stagnation, but often a lot of people are no, I want to grow, I want to evolve. They are doing manifestation in some way. They either consciously know it, they don't know it. It's fascinating, isn't it? When we talk about, I think, when we talk about how much capacity can you hold, to me, manifestation links so succinctly with that. When you talk on that about just helping people understand, if they feel I want to grow my business but I have no more capacity because I'm just feeling so overwhelmed, whether that's team, whether that's delivery, whether that's marketing, can you speak on the ability to expand and hold more?
I think for a lot of business owners, the key where I came from was it couldn't be something that I had to add to my life already. It needed to effortlessly and seamlessly add into what I was already doing. So that's where I came in with the habit stacking, and I would listen to subliminals when I was driving somewhere, doing my errands, or, maybe you're driving the kids to school in the morning, etc. And you put a subliminal on. And what a subliminal is, for the people that don't know, is an audio which has affirmations recorded on a lower frequency, which bypass the conscious mind and then go to program the subconscious. And they have been completely, radically life-changing for me. They have absolutely changed my way of thinking. And you program in positive thoughts. And I will do that whilst I'm driving, while I'm doing my skincare in the morning. When I'm in the shower, I will set an intention for the day. So I have to stack these things that help me, but I have to add them to things that I'm already doing, because sometimes I feel like I don't have capacity to add something else to the schedule. So you want it to become almost just part of a lifestyle. It's not, it's not just automatically just something on a to-do list. It's okay, this feels good. This is, for me, showing gratitude. Prime example, I see a lot of people that are upset that they don't have a certain amount of followers on Instagram. And they think that if I get to 10K, it's going to radically change my business. It doesn't, right? Let's just start there. And what I would say is, whilst you're so busy worrying and thinking about the people that you don't have, you have a whole group of people here that have chosen to join your community, that are waiting to be nurtured, that are waiting for you to share gratitude for them and really look after them and give them things and really make them feel part of a community. But often we're over here being like, but why haven't I got this? Why? And it's and I get it. I've been there, but it's in such an energy of lack that what happens is you automatically then start to filter in more lack. I'm lacking here, I'm lacking there. And, there's that saying that if you, thinking about email lists, for example, if you can't write an email to 10 people on your list because you don't think 10 people's enough, how the heck are you going to show up for 100,000 people if you want your business to grow that? You have to be able to show up for 10 people because you have to prep yourself. You remember, it's like a game. If you're playing on level 1, you're not automatically going to jump to level 10. So let's look at these 10 people that you've got on your email list. Let's nurture them. Let's get your writing in the flow and really find your signature style. And then you get to level 2 and level 3, etc. And I told you I was going to go on a tangent, but I hope that this
it's good. It's good. No, it's important because as you said, otherwise you do end up where you've got all these people. There's so many, forget the strategy, it's even the emotional piece around how can we actually deal or love on these people or whatever you want to do with it. It just becomes really tricky, doesn't it? So I think that's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
When you look at, you have a lot of people in the collective who are business owners. How has manifestation changed their businesses and how they
I would say one of the biggest things that we work on in the collective is limiting beliefs. And obviously, any human is going to have limiting beliefs. Those are beliefs that are programmed in, not always, but primarily from 0 to 7, into the subconscious mind. And then the conscious mind starts to form. And we start to unlock all of these things, and it's like fear of failure, but often it's fear of success. One of my biggest limiting beliefs that I had in business was that if I get more successful, I'm going to have more money to pay the tax man. I'm going to have to register for VAT. It's going to feel like such a stress. This is all the old beliefs. I used to believe that the bigger I get, the more chance, the more likelihood is going to be that I'll be cancelled, that I'll receive negativity. So all of these beliefs are then running the show in the background, and I could show up for work as often as I like, but my limiting belief will tell me, if you show up today on Instagram, you could go viral and you could get negative comments. So what do? Subconsciously, I think, I'm not going to go on Instagram today. I don't need to. But that's because behind the scenes, the subconscious mind is running the show. But I think in the collective, we really start to look at fear of success. We look at fear of failure. We look at all the different fears that we have. And I always kind of think, we do go to the root, and I use tools to help people get to the root of the limiting belief, and we clear it. But there is nothing more powerful than taking action to build evidence that you're safe. Because the real fear of everything is you are going to be unsafe. That's what the subconscious is telling you. It's unsafe, it's unfamiliar to do something. Now, there's definitely a difference between getting chased by a tiger when the fear kicks in and showing up on Instagram and doing a live maybe, or doing a recording for a story. And do I hold people's hand? I do gently shove them in the direction of maybe showing up today. We like a little shove, okay? And I will say on a Monday, let's set our intention, and I will hold you accountable to go do this small, tiny little step, because I'm telling you now, the compound effect of doing that on a regular basis, even if you just record a load of stories and you never post them, but you get used to seeing your face on camera and hearing how you speak, we want to almost make the subconscious get so used to this being a reality that it's not a fear anymore because it feels familiar. The only time it's a fear is because it's unfamiliar to you. Yeah. So you have to build that evidence and show yourself it's safe.
This is such a good conversation, because for any leader listening, if you have identified a limiting belief while Vic's been talking, maybe the ones that she gave an example to, because they are so common, right? We hear them all the time. Or maybe it's a different one, and maybe you want to think about one now. You have to do some work around them. Because from my perspective, the strategy piece is absolutely pointless unless we can work through the limiting beliefs. Like, the work that Vic does is so critically important because I've seen it firsthand, right? Like, I can help people strategy-wise and help them blah, 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 and have all this amazing plan out. Like, if you cannot execute, and that's not your fault. Sometimes people, I think you've got probably a lot to say on this, but like, sometimes people are like trying to execute, but you can just tell there's something in the way and it's like a roadblock and there's a bit of a wall against it. And like, sometimes that isn't going to be fixed by more strategy. It's going to be fixed by actually leaning into what I sometimes like to call leadership, but actually, depending on how deep it goes, it then kind of really moves over to personal and yourself and your sense of self. But like, you have to do this work. So please, if you're listening, like, figure out what are those limiting beliefs. Everyone's got them. Do you want to talk more on that? Like, just give us some insight and some help with that.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful when people often, and I think people think you have to do loads and loads of work on limiting beliefs. But what the great thing is that even just acknowledging that you have the belief is enough to shift, to make space for you to be able to move through it. And I mean, I'll openly share this, but when I traced it back, and I do a technique called root cause release technique, and you go back into your subconscious and you ask the subconscious to take you to the time where this belief first took root. And the subconscious, you can always trust the subconscious to take you back to the place. And I was sat at the table and I remember the door going and my dad saying, no, they're here for the VAT. And I remember it being a real, like, it was not a good situation. So the VAT man had come to knock on our door. My dad had his own business and it was a garage, and it was when we had good months, we had really good months, but when we had bad months, we had really bad months. So that in itself was a big limiting belief for me when I started my own business, because my evidence, my proof was that, my God, if you run a business, you're going to have really bad months and you're going to have really good months. It's going to be feast or famine. And as I started business, I thought, hang on, it doesn't actually need to be like this. And I looked at different ways that I knew my nervous system actually loved reoccurring revenue. And that's why I introduced the membership, because I knew what my nervous system needed. And it might not suit other people, but I had to go with what I needed. And I think going back into that subconscious allowed me to see that I get to react differently. I get to manage my finances differently. I get to break a chain of debt. I get to, so there's all these things that you get to look at with wisdom and knowledge and experience that we have now as our adult self. And when you go back into your subconscious mind with this root cause technique, you speak to your inner child and you give them the safety. I know this is going a bit woo, but you give them the safety that they're craving still within you. And I can't tell you how transformational this tool is. I get all the girls to do it in the membership and I teach it on my transformation days. And the physical, the physiological, I use this word all the time and I can never say it, but the physiological, difference in somebody's body language when I actually see it, like they sit up high and they've got their eyes closed, but I see the shoulders go back, and it's amazing for me as a coach to be able to see that instant shift. It's like amazing.
Powerful.
It's so powerful.
I feel like people hopefully can feel the energy of you just through talking here, because you're so passionate about it. Because I think you've seen, right, firsthand the difference this makes for people. Like, I'm assuming this means people can stop being stuck and go around in cycles. Or from my experience, I see a lot of people where like they'll be stuck at a revenue amount. Like, maybe if they're a business owner, it's like they're stuck going around a merry-go-round of like a certain set of circumstances in their business. And it's like, once they then do some work, it then can really change and shift for them. Yeah,
I taught recently on raising your energetic ceiling when it comes to money, because we all have it. No matter what level of business that you have, you're always going to hit a income ceiling. And it's up to you, once you know how, to move through that, because we feel more comfortable. Like for me, I felt very comfortable at 5K months for a long, long time. And I came to work with you and I said, right, I'm going to go to 30K months. And you were like, right, we're going to facilitate it. Let's see how we go. And then it got to like May and I'd started to grow. And I came to you and I said, I feel like I have to stabilise, because I'm going to grow to a point where it's going to feel uncomfortable and I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to self-sabotage and I'm going to go right back to the beginning. And you were like, perfect, right? Let's stabilise for a little bit then. Let's spend a couple of months balancing that energy.
Like, this is really important, this conversation. Like, let's just say this for people, because I think some people are going to be sat there going, oh, great for you, Vic. Like, fab, it sounds like you can just grow. Like, people will be like, oh, what a lovely problem to have. And I just want to say to people, like, that is possible for you. Like wherever you're at in your journey, in your industry, like yes, some industries, because I know we have a selection of industries and sectors, like some industries are harder than others, let's just say, to grow and scale. But most industries, especially with AI at the moment, with kind of technological advancements, the online world we have, this growth you want to achieve in your business is so doable. Like it's possible. Vic's in a position where she was able to like really lead herself with all of the tools she has. And so she's fantastic at working through all of this because she's an expert and she's like, whoa, works through things. But I want you to know that like that is possible. And then the conundrum gets to be, how much do you want to grow? And then as Vic perfectly said, she's like, okay, I realized I needed to just have a stabilization moment, which is so normal. Like I cheer that on for people. I think it's an important place to be because you don't want to necessarily go from like not 0 to 100, but that sort of vibe. You kind of want different parts of your growth journey. And then Vic had like identified that in herself and then keep going with what you're feeling. Like what happened at that point with the stabilization?
I think you have to become the person who can hold the magic as well, because for me, I was not that person at 5K months. And I truly believe that we should have big dreams. Like that's what I came to you and said, look, I've got this vision. This is what I want to grow to the membership. And the monetary goal, what I will say, it wasn't that. It was that I said I wanted to grow the membership to 1,000 members. And at that point, I think I was at 150. And what it meant, if I got 1,000 members, it would mean 30K months. But I knew as I started to grow and I invested a lot into ads, into meta ads, I went on different podcasts, I did speaking gigs. So it wasn't a case of me saying, I want to grow and then it just happened. Like I did the work to make that business grow and I continue to do so.
She works hard.
Yeah. And I then I realized that, hang on, I don't think that I am the person I need to be at 30K months. I don't think I have the nervous system for it. I don't think I've got the tech in place for it. And all these things started to become clear to me. And that's when I came to you and said, okay, I have made changes to tech. I've done changes to, I've hired a podcast editor, etc. I just need to stabilize so I can get used to this version of me. And then when I'm familiar with this version of me, then I will start to grow again. And now, obviously, we're in the growth period in this last quarter as we're recording. And maybe next year I'll stabilise again. But it never has to be a constant growth. Exactly. I don't work like that.
Yeah. And I think if it's going to be sustainable, you need stabilisation points. Important to note, for some people, that is a couple of weeks, the stabilisation point. For some people, that's 6 months. For some people, that's a year or two. Maybe there's loads happened in your life. Maybe, something's going on. Like, it's okay. Don't set a stress point around when that should take place and what it should look like. It's going to be different for everyone. And also don't feel bad if you're sat there going, well, I can deal with that in a week. I'm ready to go again. That's fine. If you're got a week, good for you. Keep going. But it is so important. I'm so pleased you raised this about the stabilisation point, because I think it's so important for people to get their heads around.
So important. And I think as well, my income stayed the same in 2022 and 2023, mainly because of health issues that I had. And I wasn't able to be in the right space to grow. So that was the reality. And there's nothing, we kind of fed this narrative that every year has to beat the year before. And actually, there is so much power in saying, I've kept this business going for another year. I flourished for another year. And I might not have hit my income goals that I might have thought, that's set out in January, but I'm still here. I'm still in business and I'm still trying different things and I'm experimenting and I'm seeing what works, or I'm still holding space for people. I'm still sending my emails. I'm still, whatever it is that you're doing. I think there's so much for us to celebrate, regardless of what the money is doing every year. There is so much reason for us to celebrate ourselves.
Massively. And we're a big fan of wins, celebrating the wins all the time, every week, at least once a week. It's got to be a win.
Yeah.
Can we move and talk about being an author and your books?
Yeah.
She has not 1, not 2, but upcoming 3, which will be a bestseller, I'm sure. How do you feel about being an author? Tell us more about what that means to you.
I feel it's so weird because I've finished my 3rd book now, which should be out, at the time of recording, it should be out in about 8 to 12 weeks. And it's still feels weird when people say, will you sign my book for me? You know, like when they see me in person or, you know, and that I go into Waterstones or WH Smith's or whatever it is now, and I will see the book on the shelf and I'm just like, oh my God, that's me. Like, that is so surreal. But my third book is without a shadow of a doubt the best book that I have written. So I think number one, the first book, I love book number one. It's my baby. It's the first book that I, you know, created, but it very much was created from a need of what my publishers wanted. So they wanted a real layman's terms manifestation for beginners book. And I said that's absolutely what I can help you with. And that was definitely a manifestation as well. I'll tell this quick story. So in 2017, I put on Facebook just to let everybody know that I am going to write a book. I'm going to sign a book deal. And that was in 2017. And then in 2021, I got an email and it was from a girl called Natalie. And she said, hi, Victoria, we found your podcast and we found your blog. And we're writing a book on manifestation and we'd love for you to be a part of it. So we had a meeting and she told me everything. And I said, I'm so sorry, but are you asking me to write the book or to be part of the book? And she was like, no, we want you to write the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you wanted like a quote or something from me in it. And I was like, sign me up, absolutely. So then book 2 came along and that's called How to Manifest Anything. And we really wanted like to dive into like an agony aunt style format. And then the space for book 3 came and my old editors came to me and they said, look, this is, you know, put a book proposal together and we'll go from there. And I sat with it. With my first publishers, they are amazing. I would never say anything negative about them, but there are lots of people that had to sign things off. So by the time it got through to the final person, there had been lots of my personality stripped out of it, lots of decisions that I wasn't a part of, unfortunately, you know, in terms of like, I won't say anything, but just design elements, I would say. And it lost a lot of what I originally wanted. So then I went to New York and I had a meeting with somebody that I was working with at the time, which is Thought Catalog. And they said, look, we would love to offer you a deal as well. And I was like, I can't believe that I'm in New York having a meeting about being, you know, about a third book. What is this life? And I sat with it and I thought, look, I could be very ego-led and I could stay with my old publishers. In the UK, there are very, very big publishers, Hachette, and they would make sure that I was in Waterstones and they would make sure that I was on Amazon and everything like that. And then Thought Catalog are in the US. So I wouldn't be in Waterstones with the third book, but they would give me full creative control and full editorial control. And I sat with it over Christmas and I thought if I go with my old publishers, it would be amazing still, but it would be ego-led because it would mean that I was in Waterstones, etc. And I emailed Thought and I said, I want to come with you. And I wrote the book and it is the best. It's called Reset and it's basically about realigning each of your life and each area of life. And I use something that I created called the Reset Formula, where we look at reflection, we look at energetic realignment, self, which is self-trust, self-development, self-love, self-worth, and then we look at embodiment and we look at thriving as that future self. And it is just, it's got so much of me. And people who have seen the front cover, they're like, oh my God, it's so different to book 1 and 2. And I'm like, because it's wholeheartedly me. It is everything that I desire it to be. So yeah, that was a big choice of mine to go with Thought, but can I just tell you a quick manifestation story about that?
Tell us. We can't wait to hear. I'm like glued in. Yeah. Everybody, I think this story is so inspiring though for people as well, because like, you know, people want to know how you get a book deal. People want to know all the like how-tos, but actually this is a really nice story of seeing it's not just about the how-to. It's way deeper than that. Come on, tell us your manifestation story. I was it was in COVID, in the pandemic, and I lived in a top floor flat, so I had no garden. So I used to take my book to a park and I would sit and read my book every single day for an hour. And I sat there and it was a book called 101 Essays to Change the Way You Think, and called an author called Brianna Wiest. And I adore that book and I messaged my friends and I said, I found this book. It's absolutely amazing. And I took a picture of it and I sent the book to 2 of my best friends and I said, you have to read this. And I posted, I said, I am obsessed with this book. I will become an author like Brianna Wiest. Like this is where I will end up. And then
I get an email from Thought Catalogue one day, and I thought, where do I recognise this name from? And they reached out to me to write a book on manifestation, but I was already with Hachette, so I had to say no. And I thought, where do I know this publisher's from? And I thought, oh my God, it's the same publishers as 101 Essays. And then that's who I'm signed to now. And for me to have sat on that park during what was one of the worst years of my entire life, to say, I will have a book like Brianna Wiest one day, and to now be signed to the exact same publishers as, and I didn't go out and chase them. All I did was I wrote a blog. I put myself out there. I became a leading expert within the field, I would say. And from that, I believe that the universe led me to the chance of Thought contacting me and discovering me, and then here we are now with them being my
such
publisher.
a good story. Such a good story. What are your sort of like 3 or 4 top tips if someone is deciding on who they're going with for their book deal? You know, maybe they've got a few options on the table. What would your kind of top tips be around book and publishing?
I would say don't ever think that you're going to get into book publishing for the money. That is not what you... I don't think, unless you are going to be a huge Sunday Times bestseller, and obviously absolutely everybody has that chance and the availability to do that. But for me, the money, yes, the advance was amazing, and you think, wow, I get to write this book, but actually the royalties, when you look at it, it's not a moneymaker. I'm going to be completely honest and say that. But the opportunities that come from you being a published author, regardless of whether you go down the self-publishing route, because there's so much power in that.
We love a self-publishing option.
I would never undermine that. I think that is absolutely fantastic, and you get so much creative control when you are self-published. And I would say just really look at how much creative control that you have over the book, and really stand up for yourself. You know, it's easy for me to say, you know, a lot of things were taken out. No, Vicky, you had the chance to be able to stand up for yourself. And at times I didn't. At times I was new to the industry. So I kind of just thought, maybe this is how it's meant to be. And now, obviously, 3rd book in, I know it doesn't have to be like that. And you can fight for yourself, and you can advocate for yourself. So to stand up for yourself and what you truly believe in. And what would be another point? I just think staying true to yourself as well, and understanding that the hard work comes after the book is written. That truly is. You know, you can sit and write this book, and however, you know, long it takes you. Sometimes publishing houses will say, we'll need this in 10 weeks. And you're like, oh, okay, right, let's get to work. And the hard work then actually comes out, because, you know, publishers have hundreds of books coming out every single month, and you are a small cog in that huge wheel. So it's up to you as the author to not depend on anybody else in terms of marketing spend or anything like that. You have to get out there and promote the book and show up in different ways, and maybe read chapters and pitch yourself on podcasts, and think of really cool out of the box ways, what a generic term that is, but, you know, really different ways that you can reach out, that you can reach new people and spread the word about the book.
It's brutal, right? For a lot of people.
Brutal.
Writing the book's like, oh yeah, great. It's like the promotion is brutal, and I don't think people understand what they're getting into. Well, not getting into, but what they need to then do in order to keep that alive.
There is nothing more humbling than when you release a book and you think that people are going to want to write about it and the press are not interested. So I was released on the same day as a really big book, and in the same category. And whilst I went to #1 on Amazon, and, you know, great reviews, the press, honestly, they had other people with bigger followings that they were going to feature. And in terms of my ego, wow, okay, I really need to stabilize myself now, because that's like a hit to like a dagger in the heart. But I was like, Vicky, you need to remove yourself from this idea that the press is going to change everything, because they're not. You know, like, it's great to have exposure, and I'm never going to, you know, say that it's not. But actually, me recording a podcast can reach a lot more people than me having a small piece in a paper, or, you know, like a quote in a magazine. So I started to look at ways that actually it doesn't have to be this huge kind of outreach in terms of press. Maybe I could run a giveaway, or maybe I could, there are lots of different ways that I could reach a new audience and speak at festivals and put myself out there for different speaking gigs and stuff. And I think that's where I really learned the lesson across from book 1, 2, and now 3.
Yeah. Game changer, right?
Yeah.
That consistency and seeing how that compounds.
Yeah.
Can we talk briefly about your community?
Yeah.
You've built a phenomenal community. And I think you've built a community that everybody wants to have, but very few manage to do as well as you have. Talk to us about your community.
I think a lot of people assume that I have created this community overnight, and it's not. So I started blogging in 2009. So
2009 people.
Yeah.
Yeah? 2009. Let's just put a 9 on the end of that.
My first blog was called I Heart Fashion 2009.blogspot.com. Really catchy.
We love it.
And I used to write about how you could achieve a celebrity look on a normal person's, a student's budget. And I created a community on Twitter at that point. And then, Instagram starts, and I had a lot of people follow me on Blogosphere and all these kind of things. So my community, a lot of those people have followed me from fashion blogging to then I created an interiors blog, which then was really big in the interiors world. And I got a lot of people from there that found me. And all of these people have kind of been with me through every iteration of the business. So while some of them are, I've got a lot of new people within the Manifestation Collective world, but a lot of them are from 2009, that when I started fashion blogging. So it hasn't been an overnight thing. It's been a job of consistency and showing up even when I didn't want to, and also not showing up and then coming back and saying, I've taken some time off, I'm here again, and my community being so open. And because, like I say, I'm very clear about my values, and I think people really appreciate that.
Massively so. And I hope that just gives a bit of light for people who are feeling the pressure of it has to have happened tomorrow or yesterday.
Yeah.
To just, I want to say chill, but to just lean into the fact that good things are built over time.
Yeah.
We're huge advocates of that. And whether that means, you don't go full time in your business, or you have a side hustle, or you have a part-time job, or you have a full-time job, whatever it is you do, you do not have to, the thing of how fast it happens isn't the definition of success. It's not about that. The time and the dedication you have spent building the community is fantastic. How do you think you've managed to now grow? Because you've now scaled that community significantly. How do you feel like you've managed to do that while keeping the essence of it? Because you really have. There's still a very core essence in it, and it's very clear, I think, for people coming into that community, what you stand for and the values that it has.
I think I have been in communities of like-minded people. And I'm not talking about spiritual people. A big part of my community are beauty business owners, and they're skincare business owners, and they're in that world of wanting to, they're very interested in manifestation, and they want to, better themselves, and not just in business, because I don't work with just business owners. I work with people with, in employment, and people who are retired, and there are all sorts of people in my community. But I have found myself in positions, I've speaking gigs, I've done masterclasses for people, and I feel like whenever I teach live or whenever I speak live, people can feel my energy, if that makes sense. And I think that attracts them to the community. And also, I feel like I am a walking, talking example of the work working. And I'm so open about that. And, I think when people join the collective, it's been running since January 2022. And I look very different. I speak very different. My confidence is very different since that version of me. So when they're watching a video from 2022 and then maybe jump into a video of 2025, they're like, is this the same girl? What? I don't understand. But they're like, this is because the work works. When I'm telling you that subliminals are powerful, when I'm telling you that to go and do a limiting belief clearing, this is why. This is let me be the living proof that when you show up for yourself consistently, and you don't just try something once and because it's not worked, you give up and you never do it again. That's the power behind it.
Yeah. And that should be another big light bulb for anyone listening, because give yourself permission to evolve and change. I think that's a thing that holds people back a lot, isn't it? This it's almost like this pride, or there's this piece of I've got to hold on to who I am, and if people can see me changing publicly, then that means that there's they have question marks around it. And I really try and help people push back on that and say, no, like, you are going to have to go through that in order, if you want what you're setting out to do, like, it's going to mean change and evolution. And that's attractive to the right people, I think. Like, people love seeing, I know people are so invested in your journey, right? And you've had even periods, right, where you sort of like chosen to share less because actually people are so invested that it becomes a bit much, sort of thing. Like, I think, tell us more about how you feel like you can publicly be open and see people, because I think that's vulnerable. I think people find that too vulnerable sometimes.
And what I do want to say is I don't believe that everybody has to be vulnerable.
Agreed. We're very big on this.
Yeah. So I am very open, and I don't mind being an open book. I share the most open things on my podcast. I, tell stories online about my dating, and I think people get to know about me as a whole. So I don't show up as an enigma. I don't show up as this polished version of Vicky. When I had really bad health issues, I would talk about it and share how I was feeling with this chronic illness. And I think it just allows people to resonate, because specifically within the manifestation world, you are sometimes led to feel that you're supposed to be manifesting millions in a mansion. That's not me. I have a very lovely life, and my dream house is the house that I'm living in now, that is a 3-bedroomed, 3-bathroom, semi-detached, but to me, with a south-facing garden, with French doors that open onto that, it is my dream house. And I think everybody has to be really clear on what a magic-filled life looks and feels like to them. We don't do things that look good on social media. It has to feel good in the soul, and that is the one thing that I will teach upon until the day that I die, that you have to create a life that feels good for you, not just what looks good to other people on social media.
Amen.
Right.
Here we go. How many hours have we got?
We're going to go on one then.
This links beautifully to one of the final questions I have for you, and that's around evolution. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about how you're fantastic at evolving, and you're good at being proud about that and showing people, we're going to change and we're going to evolve. What does that mean for you with the collective? Like, that's your baby, right? That's like a core of your business model. Talk to me about the evolution of the collective and what that looks like.
So right as we speak at the moment, I am going into relaunching the collective membership. So it started as this, beautiful space for manifestation, and I teach, a masterclass every month, and we do goal setting, etc. And it really is a hub of all the different tools that you need to create a life that you truly love and to step into that future self. One of my biggest missions is to turn you from a dreamer to a doer. Let's start putting the action into the law of attraction. And as the years went on, and I started to feel myself feel a bit stagnated by it, and I was doing the same things every month, and I could see that the transformation was still happening, but I felt a level of disconnect from it. And I was like, right, I need to elevate here. There's something that's calling me to make a change. And I love the revenue. I love the business model of a membership. So I knew that I was just going to make it even bigger and better. And I wanted the girls inside to feel like they were having this level of escapism. So I was driving along, and I'd listened to a podcast of somebody called Tess Barkley. And she said, what's really, great now is to create a theme or a kind of space where people can come and they feel almost like they're escaping. And she was talking about how she's created an office theme, like a HQ, and they have after hours drinks, etc. And there's always a lot of theme to it. So I'm driving along, and I was like, I know that I'm going to get a download. The universe is going to deliver me something. And I had this idea for a resort, a digital resort, where people arrive as they are and they check out as their future self. And as I started to brainstorm all these ideas, I was like, oh my God, this is all fitting together so naturally that I know that this is what I'm meant to do. So for example, there is the baggage area. So that's where you leave your limiting beliefs at the door. You leave your old stories at the door. There is a section called Suite 111, angel numbers. And that is where you check into the suite and you design your future self. This is where you listen to your future self affirmations, where you dress as your future self, etc. And there's the soul spa. That's where you'll go reset your energy, listen to a really calming meditation after the busy day, just really recenter yourself. And all of these things started to really sit with me, and I was like, oh my God, this feels amazing. And I trust those feelings. If I feel like something is good, even if I can't see what it's going to look like, even if I can't see a plan, I follow it and I'll take one little step. So all I needed to do first of all was make a list of all the different areas in the resort. This was in June. And I knew...
This was all quite fast.
Literally. And I'd finished my writing book 3 on Sunday. And I said, right, I am going to take some time off.
This was really funny because you were like, I'm having a break. And then all of a sudden it was like, bingo.
I said, I'm going to take the summer off. Well, the next day, on Monday, I thought, do you know what? No, I'm going to redesign the entire collective portal and I'm going to move 3 years worth of content over to a brand new website. And I've been working on that since then. I'm just saying, me personally, I haven't seen anything like this within the space that I'm in, within the industry that I'm in. And this is just another example of me wanting to level up the customer experience for the people that I'm already had. I've never done this for a reason of I want it to grow. Obviously, I want it to grow, but I've done it for the girls that are in there right now. Yeah. I want the girls that are in there right now, the women, to have this experience of, wow, this resort, let me stay here. I don't want to check out. I want to stay here.
It's been a wonderful exercise in terms of productization. You know, when people talk about in 2025, like, okay, service and productization, like this was fantastic. And talk about blending IP with productization and linking things together. Like it is a gorgeous execution of that. I can't wait for the world to just see more of it. It's fabulous.
I'm so excited.
Give me some top tips about building and running a membership with hundreds of people in. You got anything? Because in case there's a lot of people with membership models.
I think having really strong boundaries is key. We have worked together on this. Before I came and worked with me, my boundaries were non-existent and I would try and help everybody at any time of the day. And it was really to the detriment of my own health at some point. So when I started this year, I said to me, I'm going to really put some boundaries in place of how people can contact me. Because it's nobody else. I don't believe that anybody is at fault if you haven't put a boundary in place.
1000%. We're huge on this. Like, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd said to the girls, I was a little bit scared, and I was fearful, but I thought I've just got to bite the bullet. And I said, look, I'm not going to answer questions on email anymore. There's too many people coming through to me. So if you've got a question, put it in the community group, in the Facebook group. You can post anonymously. There is that tool for you. Or come to the live calls and ask live and I can help you. But I won't be answering questions on email. And the girls were just like, amazing. Okay, that's great. At least we know now. At least we know how to contact you. And it was a boundary that not only helped me, but help them as well of what was expected of them as a member. And they're such a beautiful community that they were just like, perfect. Okay, that's great. There was and I'd feared that for so long. And actually biting the bullet and putting those boundaries in place has been when I say life-changing for me, it's life-changing because it's given me an element of cut off. I don't work on weekends anymore. I used to be open all the time to answer questions. And the girls know now that I delete the app on a Friday night. So they're not gonna bug me if they post a question because I don't have the app. I have to manage my own boundaries and my own energy levels. And then that's what I've done. And obviously this time, when I'm relaunching the membership, I have integrated I've put in an integration week, and that is the 3rd week of every month. I'm not teaching, I'm not hosting anything, I'm not in the group, and that is the space for the girls in the collective to either catch up, do the work, take time for themselves, be in that energy, and then on the 4th week we come back and I'm there to answer any questions. And I think that is one of the most important things you can do, where you create a membership that works for you. Because if you create a membership that works for everybody else, you will end up resenting that, and you want to create something. If it's going to be a long-term plan of yours, it has to work for your life.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, we know everyone loves a membership, but if you resent it, it is literally the worst business model you can possibly have. When it works, it is absolutely amazing. But for the amount of people who resent and hate their membership, it is a nightmare, isn't it?
I had a lot of people ask me at the start, would I start teaching at 8 o'clock instead of 7? Because they were putting their kids to bed. And I said, I'm going to be totally honest, guys, because I then upload everything afterwards and I have to do the tech and everything. That would mean me finishing work after 10 o'clock, and I would start to resent that. I can finish work after 9. That's fine. It's not every week. But if I was going to be doing that, every month, etc., I would start to resent it. And it wasn't a business model. That would be catering, and I do want to cater for people, but not at the detriment of my own health. So that's
amen. Amen to that, for sure. And amen to implementation weeks as well. Anybody listening on that, definitely do that. So good.
Yeah.
Right. Can we finish with some quick fire questions?
Yes. Let's see what comes up. You know me, bloody hell, I witter on, so I'm going to have to really be good at answering in one short sentence.
We might end up with 6-hour podcasts eventually.
2 parts.
What is one of your favourite or best moments in business to date ever?
Ooh, signing my first publishing deal, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Did it just like change? Did you just have a moment?
I felt like, wow, okay, does this mean that I've made it? Like that would, and seeing it go to number 1 on Amazon, there was me at number 1 and Davina McCall at number 2. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm above Davina McCall. Wow.
Obsessed with that. As an amazing CEO, what self-help, commitments, self-care, like what is a non-negotiable in your world to make you be able to function as a high performer?
I love to take a CEO day. We know this. I go to Middleton Lodge, I book a spa morning or a spa day, and I'll take my notebook and I will plan and I will see what's not working. I will see what's working. I will celebrate myself. I will plan for the next 6 months, but it has to, I do it regularly. And I absolutely I'll never stop that. I love it.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you have a resource or a person or a book or something like that that has shifted or impacted how you lead?
You.
Oh.
I thought, why are you asking me for someone else? You're right there. I would say you, and I'm not going to try and, blow smoke up your bum, what's where. But I just think when I started before I worked with you, like I said, I was very much about following vibes and intuition, and I was very energy led. And then you were like, okay, but let's look at the data from your flow desk, for the email thing. We had a one-to-one recently, and it made me feel so empowered.
Yeah.
It made me to see the data and to understand that if I got this many people on the wait list, then this many people could convert, etc. I was like, wow, strategy and data makes me feel, it's not boring. It's not, it actually makes me feel super empowered, and it makes me make empowering choices. And I love that. And you're the person who has instilled that in me.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, you.
Sweet. I love that. It's fantastic. We love the blend. We love the blend of all of it. It's so good. What's something that you're proud of that no one ever sees?
Oh my God. I would say showing up. I'm so proud of the fact that I did not close the business down when my health was so bad. Like I was in and out of hospital. It was a really, really like traumatic time, and I kept the business open, and I told everybody what was happening. And I said in the membership, I said, I'm going to get guest speakers in because I don't have the, capabilities of doing that. But I didn't just fill the spaces with rubbish. I actively went out to find people that would create the best environment for the girls. Like I wanted them to still continue in this experience with me. And within that whole time, genuinely, whether people stayed in to make life better for me, I don't know, but only 6 people left within that whole time of me being ill. And I was like, wow, okay, like this is a beautiful community that I've built.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal message. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Just a couple of more questions, seeing as you're just fast on it at the moment. What's one thing that you don't apologise for anymore that you may be used to?
Oh, do you know what I used to do? I used to say sorry for how I looked on Instagram. I used to come on stories.
Please stop doing that, everyone.
I swear to
Please
God.
Stop.
Yeah. I used to come on and go, I'm so sorry, guys, I've not got makeup on. Shut up. Like, you're a normal human being, and everybody, you look fine. And I think I will be honest, guys, and say that I have done an immense amount of work on my self-worth over that, and that's what Reset is about. And I've done an immense amount of work on my self-worth and how I show up in the world and how worthy I feel, and I felt like I was apologising for being me. And it was like, and prime example, I didn't start a podcast for so many years because I felt like people would not want to hear a northern accent on a podcast. And I used to love hearing other people on podcasts, but I was like, no, Vicky, they will listen to your voice and think, oh my gosh, she's so broad from Leeds. And that my accent is the thing that people comment on the most about the podcast. They're like, we love your voice. Like, I have people emailing me from Canada, from New Zealand, and they're like, you make me feel like I'm home. Like, I love listening to you. Like, you make me feel like I'm home. And I'm like, I am going to stop, like, putting myself down for the things that are actually my superpower.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know why I was saying amen so much today.
It's because of me, so I listen to so much worship music.
If you could leave one message to every ambitious woman in business, what would it be?
Let me think. To tap into your own magic, I think to understand that you have so many superpowers, so many things that set you apart from other people, like to really look at what makes you magnetic. And it's probably not the same thing as the person next to you. It's not the same thing as the people in your industry. Because when you lean into that magic. My God, you become magnetic. And I don't want these to become just buzzwords, because honestly, when I lent into my accent, when I lent into showing up, hair in a pineapple, showing up on stories and doing my car chats and talking about my dating life. And, I'm not saying you have to do all this, but that was my magic. Those were the ingredients and my superpowers. And that's when I started to really not only grow in business, but feel like myself in business, that I wasn't just putting on an act and I wasn't pretending to be a business owner. It was like, no, this is my life, and this is, and honestly, that's when abundance really started to flow to me, when I was in that energy.
What a note to end on.
Yay.
Victoria Jackson, thank you so much for coming on the Honest Business Podcast. Where can people find you and your work?
So everybody, it's so super easy. The Manifestation Collective. I am that on everything. So type in the Manifestation Collective. And actually, if you asked Google or AI, I am one of the recommendations for manifestation coaches. Whoop! Woohoo! Love that.
Thank you so much for being open, honest, and sharing so many raw insights today.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Yay! Thank you.